All right, welcome back. It's your boy Bad MMA Math with an immediate reaction to UFC Vegas 87. I think it's 87. Now I already had like a really salty taste in my mouth after Manel Cap missed weight and Nicolau refused to fight him. A bit of a bitch move, but I get it. He was probably scared. So my expectations for this card were already kicking off at I don't give a fuck levels. Let's see if the card managed to change my mind. Like and subscribe, yadi-da. All in all, it's great to have people trying to kick each other's heads in again. So let's get straight into it. All right, fight one. This was a fun fight to get the card kicked off. The first round was a pretty good one for Bunes. He was landing early leg kicks, which Van was only partially checking, and he was using his range effectively as Van tried to close the distance quickly and load up on power shots, which was not working at all. Had our first nut shot of the year, by the way, which didn't take long at all. Knee right up the middle and into the baby factory. When they resumed after having a few takedowns stuffed, Bunes managed to take Van to the ground, but with a few seconds to go, Van managed to reverse it, and it kind of highlighted to me that maybe the tide was starting to turn a little bit. It wasn't really the best first round for Van, but he tends to start a little bit slowly. Now the second round, Van completely took over, started cutting the cage off so that Bunes had his back against the cage and couldn't use the range. And once he started ripping to the body, you could see his opponent gassing hard. And then Van did a really good job with front leg kicks to the body when the range was reset. And his hard work finally paid off when he managed to get Bunes down himself and then pound away with ground and pound. Another impressive performance from the young man. Bunes will be back in the LFA by Monday morning. All right, the second fight. I'm calling for it now. We need to start administering IQ tests as part of the Tailor the Tape. I swear to God. This was retardation on the side of Nolan. Plain and simple. Nicholas Motta, as I said in the build-up, is a one-trick pony that only throws overhands. I don't care how this fight went. He is not good. As soon as Nolan started plodding forward like a mong, I knew I had fucked this one. Thankfully, I didn't bet on it though, or I would have been angry rather than disappointed. Instead of taking his time and using his vastly superior range, he tried to fly in and crash in close and got absolutely sent to hell. Caught with an overhand left, which dropped him, and then he swarmed in and beat that boy like a drum. You cannot be that defensively stupid at this level. Fair play to Motta though. He was very complimentary to his opponent. Nolan is young, so he might learn from this, but I don't really care if he does or not. He's a fucking idiot. All right, third fight on the card. Weston Wilson is just too soy for MMA, and that walkout by Silva was unbelievable. I've never seen anything so slow in my life. I thought my 100% legal stream was buffering out on me at the time. That slow, sinister walk would be far more effective if your opponent is already waiting in the cage, you embarrassing individual. This was the mismatch we all expected. After a little bit of a tepid start, Wilson tried to dive in and got clipped with a right that landed behind the ear. He did well to recover, and then Silva followed it up with the most unorthodox takedown I've seen in a while. The shit did look pretty slick though. Wilson kept his hands low, making him a piss easy target, and Silva obliged and caught him again with a few minutes left in the round, dropped him, and then started like kind of chuckling at him. I swear to God, this guy is a cartoon villain. Anyway, I really thought that at some point in that round that Wilson was just going to start crying and quitting there, but to be fair to him, he didn't. He probably should have. Silva then played with him a little bit more, and Goddard felt sorry for him and stopped it after a few more thudding strikes to the face. Now, this was a complete waste of everyone's time. The demonstration he gave of how he set up the final sequence, though, in the post-fight was pretty funny. So, yeah, it was an entertaining enough fight, but a total mismatch. All right, after a great start to the card with 3 finishes, this one really served to suck the air out of the building. It was terrible and boring and went exactly as I predicted. Basharat would take him down, Lapilus would get back up, they would strike a little bit, Basharat would take him down again, and then Lapilus would get back up. And then you can just rinse and repeat that for 15 minutes. If I can give any credit, which is kind of hard in this one, Basharat is going to win a lot of fights being able to do this over and over to opponents. It's very boring to watch, but he won without getting bonged, so good for him. His striking is actually quite varied, but he opts to play it very safe at times, and I'd take the pussy route too if I could keep winning this way. I did bag myself a double bonus for picking the fight winner and for it to go over 2.5, so give me that double W. I deserve it after sitting through this bullshit. If you are watching this card in the morning, hit fast forward, it was crap. Just in case I didn't make that already very clear. All right, fight number 5. We got firmly back on track with this one, thank God. Action from pretty much start to finish, and it was all heading in one direction. Mcghee is a savage, and Bolanos is a really good punching bag. Marcus was fully aware of the kickboxing threat. I'm going to be generous and call it that, and just stayed in close and applied enormous and constant pressure. The ending sequence finally came in round 2 when he landed a right hook to the chin following a blocked head kick. He went for the walk-off, but Bolanos managed to get up. He probably wishes he hadn't. Mcghee then obliged him by wheel kicking him to the head and then landed a few more punishing shots before Mark Smith stepped in and saved his life. I like this guy a lot. Almost picked him for my dark horse of the year, actually, when I did that video earlier on in the week. I just think Phillips, his teammate, ironically, is just ahead of him by a bit. This man is fucking good, though. Lovely man too. No shit talking necessary. Great, but a very predictable win. All right, fight number 6. This fight was quite good as well, and this card was actually shaping up to be quite fun. I kind of felt that the main card would probably suffer as a result of it and suck, but we'll get to that in a minute. Another one I predicted excellently. Both men were pretty much exchanging back and forth in a phone booth at the start, with Parsons out landing more and most notably landing leg kicks, which the Jedi didn't really enjoy. Parsons was landing a little more, and the damage was on his side, so he clearly won the first round. Fair play to the Jedi. He came out in the second and managed to land a takedown, and also some ground and pound. But it wasn't really long before it was standing again, and then Parsons saw out the majority of the round by hugging him and kneeing him in the clinch. A grazing elbow also landed to add more visible damage, and Parsons almost logged in an armbar, which Semelsburger did really well to escape from, but I'd argue he lost the second round as well. Now, the third round was a little bit more in the back and forth department, with the majority of it spent with them rolling around each other on top of the ground. I really hate when fighters pull gillies, and Semelsburger went for one in the third, which, to be fair, was locked a little bit under the chin. He didn't have the energy to get the finish though, so pretty stupid thing to do in the third round when you're clearly down by 2. Now, Parsons saw out a round looking for a Kimura and saw the round out on Mount, which saw a clean sweep for him. Really nice win, fun, high energy fight. Yeah, pretty enjoyable. All right, so onto the main card and the pudding battle. I've heard Arlovski is making upwards of 400k to show after a long as hell career, so fair play to him. He can still hang. This was another one I picked exactly correctly. I said that Acosta was not very good, and well, I was vindicated for this one. This was a hard fight to call. Costa probably landed a little harder, and Arlovski probably landed a little more. I think by the end of the fight, there was 8 significant strikes between them. That's how close this fight was. And this is exactly why I advised everyone not to bet on this fat plum at -700. I would have been shitting my pants watching this lumber to a decision if I'd picked that guy. Now, the most entertaining thing that Acosta did in the fight was in the 3rd round, when he roared like a polar bear in the middle of round 3. I wanted Arlovski to actually get the win for the banter, even though I said that Acosta would win. And you could make a case for Arlovski in this fight. This was so close and not in a fun way. Acosta started then showboating at the end of the 3rd round, which just really added to this embarrassing performance. You stunk the joint out, mate, and went 15 minutes with you went 15 minutes with a 50-year-old man. What a wally. He won a decision, as I said, outstriking him by 8 strikes. Moving on. Alright, if Philip Hawes isn't cut now, he's never going to be cut. This was an absolute beatdown for as long as it lasted. The two men started out testing the waters, which, if you consider how dodgy their chins are, you can hardly blame them for that approach. Now, Ferreira went for a few takedowns early, which were fucking terrible, but it kept Hawes from attacking, so I guess the man is a genius. The fight took a sharp turn in his favor when he was able to hip toss Hawes to the ground in a really nice display of judo skill. And as soon as he started landing a little ground and pound and had time to sit on him for a little bit, I knew Hawes was going to quit. I knew he was done. Eventually, Pereira cracked him and had him on skates. And in true Hawes fashion, it was a check right that kind of grazed him, but still dropped him somehow. He was falling asleep as he fell to the ground. This man must stay in when it's a windy day. I'd really worry about the wind knocking his face off. You can't win fights by having a chin that shit. He was already napping when his head bounced off the canvas, and it was confirmed, done and dusted, with the extra ground and pound on top of it. Now, Ferreira called out Sharapov, the pirate, which I really like as a call-out. Hawes needs to do something else with his life. He is not an MMA fighter. Alright, this one was fight of the night for me. Ricky Simon looked drained in there for some reason. Less of a balloon animal than usual. So I was interested to see how this frame would work out for him. He was a little bit slow against Song Yadong, so maybe it was an effort to be lighter on his feet and a little bit quicker. Now, Bautista was clearly going in there with a game plan to fire knees up the middle, and it was actually a poorly timed one that allowed Simon to catch him and land that first takedown. Now, Simon went a little bit too quickly though and let him off the hook, so Bautista was able to get up and land off some really good shots. It was a really close fight, but Simon dropped him with a massive shot, so stole a round for me. Now, the bookies had Bautista as the favorite though, which was kind of odd to me, so I guess they must have given him the round. Bautista was winning in the stand-up into the second and landed some really nice combinations and an elbow that hurt Simon a little. Both men were keeping up a high pace though, and Simoni also seemed to carry that danger. You felt like he was a good right away from catching Bautista and putting him down. So I had it 1-1 going into the third and all to play for. Now, Simon landed a takedown at the beginning of the third round and looked to be taken over and seeing out that round, but he just couldn't keep it there. And when Bautista got back up, you could see that Simon was exhausted, and Bautista just started teeing off on him at will. It was a great fight, great round, great win for Bautista. He could really be an issue at bantamweight. Yeah, this for me was the fight of the night. Really good fight. All right, now we've got Jim Miller coming up next. This was a decent little scrap without really being earth-shattering stuff. Miller spent the better part of the first round munting the fight, causing significant bruising, and both men had their moments landing combinations. Miller looked like he was carrying a little more damage, but won the first pretty clearly. Now, in the second, Benitez started taking over in the striking a little bit. He was landing some jabs and kicks, and Miller wisely decided to fuck this whole thing off and landed a takedown, which was really expertly timed. And again, just illustrates the high IQ and the experience that this man has. He then spent the rest of the round landing nasty body hooks straight into the liver and shots on top. So it was another round for Miller. Now in the third round, Benitez needed a finish, but nobody must have told him. And he went back to trying to pop the jab, and both men basically exchanged combos. Now Miller continued to batter the fight, and Benitez was showing no urgency to try and finish the fight, which was a little brain dead to me, but, you know, whatever. Both men landed until Miller landed a takedown and then ended up punctuating the win with a rear naked choke. Really nice win for Miller. If you don't think this man is a Hall of Famer, you can go fuck yourself. I hope he gets a shot at UFC 300 to fuck off into the sunset himself. 43 fights in the UFC is unbelievable. He called out Paul Felder, who was on commentary tonight. And I personally wouldn't mind seeing that. I think it's a bit silly, but why not? All right, now on to the main event. Now, I don't like that this was being called a title eliminator. Ankalaev did not beat Yan, and I don't care what anyone says. And he should have been disqualified in their last fight. There was nothing accidental about it, and Walker has been knocked out by half the division. I would have honestly rather had Simon and Bautista as the main event than this. Whatever. Walker started out on fire, actually. He was walking him down, landed some really good shots, including a nice question mark kick, I think at some point in the midpoint of the round. Ankalaev was starting to take over a little bit, though, and landing some really heavy leg kicks. And just as he was taking over a little, decided to boot Walker right in the bollocks. Walker had a little bit of a bitch about it and rested for like 3 minutes, which was probably good for him, and the round was sore out. Now, we got bored as fuck while they picked at each other for a few minutes until boring Ankalaev caught the dummy slipping with the worst positioning after another spinning attack, which he never has fixed. And then Walker walked straight into a right, which chinned the fuck out of him. And then Ankalaev hit him with a kind of a shovel hook as he was leaned up against the cage, which finished him off. It was a good end to the fight, but as far as I'm concerned, Ankalaev should not be getting a title eliminator from this. And if he does, it's an utter disgrace. I don't like that guy. I think he's an utter prick. And I hope they tease him by not giving him a title shot. Anyway, it was a nice way to end the card. I ended up going 11-2, which is a really good start to the year. If you're used to being around here, then you'll know that that's kind of a regular thing we do around here. You know, we had a pretty good year last year. I've had a little look at next week's card, which is UFC 297, and that's going to be a tough one to get the predictions right for. If I'm being honest, a lot of these were gimmies. Anyway, I've got another video releasing day after tomorrow, which should be a really interesting one. I'm not going to reveal it quite yet, but I'll just say it's another cross-promotional one where I've really worked pretty hard on it, so it should be interesting. Have a great rest of the weekend, and I look forward to seeing you all for the next one on Monday, and I'll be releasing the breakdown of 297 on Tuesday. Peace.